Hey, welcome back to the Super Freak podcast. Do you want to know the secret to figuring out how you, yes you alone, can do something that you have never done before so that you can do it with confidence? Do you want to know the secret to figuring out how you're going to do it step by step, laid out, step 1, step 2, step 3, so that you can do it with confidence, with a sense of ease? It's not necessarily always easy, it's not necessarily not work, but a sense of like knowing that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and trusting in the process, especially when you're going for the unknown. I think you're going to really like this episode. If you have a big goal or a big dream, you're creating something that maybe other people don't necessarily believe in or understand what you're doing or why you're doing it. Or maybe, you're going for something that no one in your family or no one that you know has ever done before, or you're trying to do something that's really new for you and it almost feels like, why am I doing this? Why can't I just be happy with what I've got? I'm speaking to all my big dreamers out there. I'm speaking to the people who want to do big things in the world, and yet, you lack the confidence to kind of move through it and take the risks. Now, after being a coach for about 16 years, I have developed a very specific set of skills. And one of those skills, and this is not a skill that is unique to me, everyone can do this, but one of those skills I have honed over that time is the ability to see and recognize in people their meta strategy, as in the very, very, very simple, summed up way they have already created all the things they've created in the past. We have a strategy for doing everything that we do, right down to brushing our teeth, but that's a micro strategy. That's not a meta strategy. A meta strategy is something we can kind of sum up a whole lot in a meta strategy. It's very, very vague. It's very, very highly chunked. But we have a strategy for doing everything that we do. And you have a strategy for not getting it done. You have a strategy for failing. You have a strategy for being stressed, but you also have a strategy for how you've done everything that you've actually achieved in the past. And what blows my mind is that we don't look at this very often, where we go back to the things we've been successful at and work out why we were successful at that in the first place. How did that work? Why did that work? And how did I make that happen so you can actually repeat it in the past? So often we think it was just a fluke and we can't do it again, or we're crossing genres, or we're doing a different business, or we've moved careers or whatever, and we think, oh, well, that doesn't apply to my relationship, but it can and it does. We all have strategies. Nobody is unique in that they don't have a strategy for getting what they want and creating what they create. It's possibly just that you're not looking kind of high up enough in terms of meta, but your strategy is as unique as your fingerprint. It is so unique to you. And when you can figure it out, when you can really see that for yourself, it's not even a sense of figuring it out. It's actually looking back and clarifying what it is that you've done before. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do today in the podcast. But when you can see this for yourself, it gives you a way forward with everything that you do, even if what you're doing next has nothing to do with what you've done in the past or how you've done things in the past. Even if what you're creating next, you don't even know if it's possible. Now, this does sound a little bit crazy and maybe overly simplified. But when you think about it, most of the time, instead of looking at how we've created something, how we've created success, how we've created happiness, how we've created results in the past, we don't look at what we've done before. We look to other people and how they have done something, which seems logical, right? But when you follow someone else's strategy, it's not unique to you at all. It doesn't take you, the human, into consideration whatsoever. So it's probably more oversimplified than anything to just follow someone else's strategy. It doesn't take into account the nuance of anything, not you at all, not your past, not your experiences, not your past successes, not your passions, not your values. So if you think this sounds overly simplified, let that be liberating, but also know that the way we typically go about creating results is so weird to me. Like looking at someone else's actual strategy and trying to copy what they do at a micro level has nothing to do with the success. I'll give you an example. So I remember, this is years ago, Johnny Wilkinson. He's an English rugby union player, and he used to do this thing with his feet. So he'd be about to kick a goal, or, go for the goal kick. And he would do this thing where he kind of moved his knees or something. It kind of looked like he was running on the spot a little bit. And that's what he would do before kicking the goal. I used to have a huge crush on this guy when I was in high school. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so all around the country, after the Rugby World Cup, all around the country, you would see little kids doing the same thing with their feet. So his micro strategy, and this is me just totally making assumptions and an assessment of this person based on what I heard. So it's not straight from Johnny Wilco's mouth, but all around the country you saw kids doing exactly the same thing. They'd be kind of running on the spot before they kick the goal. Now, what happens is we watch someone else do their strategy. Now, you might be watching someone and they've started making reels and they're doing something in their reel and it looks really pretty or it looks really nice. And we think, oh, that's marketing. I'm going to do the same thing as them and hopefully get the same result. Or I'm going to wear the same, I don't know, it's really weird. You see people modeling and wearing the same clothes. Anyway, this is what we do. We look at the fruit on the tree. We don't look at actually where the tree is planted and the soil that the tree is planted in and what we fed the tree and how long it took. We just don't look at any of that. We just look at the very last thing that we see. And in Johnny Wilkinson's case, he was running on the spot. So kids everywhere are doing this because they think they're going to be as good as him at kicking goals under pressure if they do the same thing with their feet. Now, it was a weird move that he did. And when he was interviewed about it, if I remember correctly, in the interview, he said, oh, what I'm actually doing in that moment is I'm visualizing the ball going through the goalposts. Now, that's not something that every kid around the country was doing. They're just running on the spot like Johnny Wilco. So this is my point about following someone else's strategy. Often what you see is not the actual strategy. It's something else that's going on underneath. And what you're being taught is actually what you see. It is so overly simplified. It's so not nuanced. It has nothing to do with you, your history, your past successes. That's what I mean by following someone else's strategy. Now, I could, I talk about this way too much probably, but I'm very passionate about you finding your own way through in doing things. It can seem easier at first to follow what someone else is doing. I really get that. I love a step-by-step. I love understanding what someone else is doing and just having a bit of a way forward. And yeah, I agree. It can feel really easy sometimes. The problem then becomes though, when you're trying to create something that hasn't necessarily been created before by you, or you're in a unique scenario where maybe you find yourself hesitating or holding back on doing the next thing that you want to do because of your unique scenario, your unique circumstances, your unique belief systems, your unique experience. And you feel like, oh, it's just not that simple. I can't just do that thing. That's when this whole looking at other people thing can really come back to bite us in the bum. And that's where I'm really passionate about teaching this particular thing I'm talking about today on the podcast. So let's look at some examples of what a person's meta strategy can be. Now, your strategy, yours, I'm going to show you how to sort of work yours out today. It will work across genres. It will work across career paths. It'll cross all areas of your life. You can apply the same strategy to creating in relationships. You can apply that to work, to money, to changing careers, to hitting a goal in your sport that you've never done. It's meta. It's meta, which means it is above and beyond the specific how that is related to the topic that the goal is within. So it's above and beyond the category of relationships. It's above and beyond the category of money. That's why it seems overly simplified and vague, because it's something that has to be able to transition across all genres. So it's good. If it feels vague and overly simplified, good, it means it can apply across genres, okay? So it will work across all the areas of your life. It's like an entire belief system. So here are some examples. My personal meta strategy, I'm giving it away, but mine is I go on adventures, I do what feels fun, I make new friends, and I express myself. That has nothing to do with my business. Nothing. And this is not to put my strategy or me or anything I do on a pedestal. I'm just giving you an example, because when I looked back on the way I have created every single thing I've ever created, including finishing university, winning world titles, finding love, making my business the way that I want it to be, just everything. I look back and see what were the similarities in how I created that. I went on adventures and did what felt fun in the moment, as in made choices when I was faced with a choice, I faced the choice with the filter of like, what's going to feel like the most fun and playful way to do this. I focused on being out in the world, connecting with people, making new friends, wherever I was. And I found a way to express myself, whether it was through my body, through movement, through writing, through sharing something. Right now, it's finding a way to express myself in a way that feels fun is the podcast, right? It would not feel fun for me to have to like not have my pajamas on right now because I don't want to do things I don't want to do when I don't want to do them. So I find a way to express myself in a way that feels fun and I add adventures to my life. This is kind of a sum up of how it works. I'll give you another one. A client of mine, recently we worked out what their strategy was, and it was hone in on what you want. Just give yourself permission to want what you want and bookmark it for the future, but don't bookmark it as in like it's got to happen by this particular date, because when the pressure is off, the creativity is on. So it was hone in on what you want and bookmark it for the future. When we looked back at their strategy, everything that this person had created was not planned and way better than the plan. And everything that they wanted happened. It just didn't happen in the timing that they said. So then it was about when you're going to take actions, choose the option that feels like it opens up a sense of space or flow or ease. And then do something every day that connects you with a sense of wonder and nature. So hone in what you want, bookmark it for the future, choose the options that feel like a sense of space or flow, and stay connected to a sense of wonder. 3 things that worked across manifesting houses, manifesting work, manifesting love, all of it. It's going to work across every genre. So another strategy from another person is decide what I want and then just lay back and let it happen. I was talking to a client one day and she said, we're trying to work out how she's created everything that she wants in her life. And she said, I just literally decide what it is that I want. And then I kind of just, I just kind of lay back and I just let it happen. I feel like every time I try to overthink it too much or I'm pushing too hard with it, I push it away. Now, if you knew this person, you would be like, that is exactly how she creates everything that she wants. I don't know how she does it. I don't know how it works. I have no idea, but it is literally how she's created houses, babies, business. I remember watching her like more than double her income while working less without raising her prices because that was a big value of hers. And then boom, it kind of happened really quickly because she just applied this meta strategy. Now, if you were watching this person and you thought, I want to do what they're doing, and you saw them do what she does, it looks overly simplified and really weird, but there's obviously a lot going on internally that people don't see. And when you can own what this strategy is for you, it actually speeds up results happening so much faster. So that was one of the strategies. Another strategy, find the right building, start with the design, let the rest unfold, optimize the systems that work. I know that sounds really overly simplified again. Finding the right building can feel like it is connected to one specific kind of area, maybe interior design, but finding the right building can also mean finding the right space, finding the right envelope, finding the right design, finding the right place that you want to be, finding the right, being in the right space and be inspired by the space, and then everything else kind of happens. So there is no rule about what the strategy has to be. It doesn't have to be 3 steps. It can be 1 word. It doesn't have to be unique to your vocation. It doesn't have to be unique to anything in particular. And it's really important that you let your mind, which is going to tell you this is overly simplified and not professional enough or something, just get out of the way for a second. Because when you can look back and find this strategy, it literally does give you a step-by-step for doing something that you've never done before. So when you're creating something new or something difficult, it can really feel like there is no playbook for how to do this. But if you've ever created something that you have loved or enjoyed before, even just one thing, you can look back on how you did that and find inspiration, map that across. Now, to be clear, your strategy is very broad, yes. It can seem vague, yes. It is really highly chunked, like I mentioned. And you're going to use it not in isolation. Okay, so you're going to use it inside and alongside timeless facts, for example, like how business works. You're not just going to ignore how business works. You need to be making money and you need to be spending less than you make so you have cash flow. I mean, I'm majorly summing up business there, but business is maths. You need to utilize your strategy alongside timeless facts, alongside timeless wisdom and knowledge. And it's the combination of understanding both of these things that allows you to take something very broad, like the idea of business, or the idea of becoming healthy, or the idea of renovating a home, or the idea of finding love in your life, taking that idea and the timeless wisdom and timeless facts from, professionals and studies and all that stuff, and then apply your personal strategy over the top of that knowledge. When you use the two together, you find a way forward to know which pieces of knowledge, which steps, which bits, which bits do I do first? What do I do first? What do I do second? How do I think about this for myself? Where do I even start? That can be one of the biggest things. So I'll give you an example. You wouldn't go into business and never learn about the timeless wisdom and facts about business, like cash flow. We cannot argue with cash flow and understanding expenses and a balance sheet. Business is maths and a series of elements all working together in unison, in symphony. And you need to educate yourself and understand how they all work so you can optimize each one and then optimize how they all work together. That's business. There's marketing, there's distribution, there's sales, there's all kinds of things. But within that, your strategy is your strategy. And this is what makes your business, your work, your ability to do that work sustainably. It's what makes it authentic to you and unique to you and energizing for you and sustainable for you and something that you can do forever, right? And it doesn't just apply to business. It applies, like I said, across the board. I'm just giving you an example. So I'll give you a specific example. Let's say you are somebody who maybe you used to be an interior designer and you have a background in interior design, but you love making croissants and you want to start your own side gig, a little business making croissants, just croissants, French croissants with French, I'm not saying it correctly, croissants, but with beautiful, fatty French butter and the very specific way of making croissants that is just perfect. It's a family lineage recipe. You want to have this business in specializing in croissants. Now, let's say from your interior design background, which has nothing to do with croissants, your strategy really came to life because you found a way to make doing interiors really easy and enjoyable for you. So let's say your personal strategy was to find the right building and to start with the design and let the building or the space inform the design and then let the rest kind of unfold from there and then optimize the systems that work. So let's say you designed retail stores in your interior design job, and there's just a simple way that retail stores really, really work. There's a certain flow, there's special zones and spaces where things need to happen, and you are the expert at creating these experiences in retail, which is really unique. So if you want to make croissants, you've got to make sure that you have the skill of making the best croissants. That's croissants. Sorry, I'm really sorry that I'm pronouncing this wrong. I'm just going to stick to the example, that stand on their own. Croissants that stand on their own. You've got to understand also how business works. For example, finance, having a marketing plan, etc. You need to understand how to have people find you, how to get their eyeballs on your business, and how to inspire them or entice them to want to buy from you. Perhaps that involves a story. Perhaps that involves an incentive. I don't know. But these are all elements of business. So you need to know this. You need to know how the business pieces work together. But then you'll know exactly where to start with all of these pieces. Do I start with marketing? Do I start with a website? Do I just start making croissants on the street and handing them out? And, do I give away free product? And so you'll know exactly where to start with your strategy because it's to find the right building or to start with the design and let that space inspire the rest. Now, that's not going to seem super logical from one person to the next. Others might make a very different choice. But if this is your strategy, this is how it's always worked for you, why fight it? Why then turn around and go, well, I'm going to look at how everyone else has done croissant businesses. This is driving me crazy. I should not have chosen this product. Anyway, so you find the place that you want to bake in. Instead of worrying about having the perfect website or giving away free product, you find the space. When you do find it, you let it inform the design of how this whole thing is going to work. It has the most beautiful light coming in. It's got this beautiful old oven that you want to highlight in the design, right? And the entire store, the entire space comes to life. The branding and everything gets inspired by that space. Now you use then your education in timeless wisdom on branding and marketing and whatever else, which is separate to your strategy, to then turn your vision into marketing assets. And you let each step of the business unfold as you go, being informed by that design and the visuals of it first and foremost. Then, because in the past you had a way of doing things before where you knew exactly how a retail store needed to operate, you then optimize all of the systems and you don't kind of question redoing the way a store should be designed. You kind of rely on that timeless wisdom. So you have the systems of retail, the systems of customer service to all the aspects of design, and voila. There's your strategy applied to a business. From someone who has worked in interior design, perhaps never had a business before, but did it really well, and then wants to start in a new genre, something completely unrelated, making croissants. Then you apply the strategy, and this is kind of how you move through that murky water. Now, this is a made-up example, right? Of course. But it is to demonstrate that your personal strategy informs how you make choices when there is no step-by-step playbook for how to do something that you've never done before. So when I was a martial artist, I can look back and see that whenever I did what felt fun, now training didn't always feel fun, but finding a way to do my drills every single day, finding a way to do that felt fun was the secret to becoming really good at doing the basic stuff that was required, kicking and punching, so that you can do it faster than other people. And in my case, doing what felt fun was putting music in my ears. Like, I was doing martial arts when iPods were brand new, and I remember there was a pocket inside my karate top, and I could put my Apple iPod, huge thing, inside there, and it had like 1,000 songs, and I would just play like this trance music in my ears and go up and down a field or up and down a park, like practicing my drills. It felt really fun. And we'd, make new friends, obviously, and I'd find ways to express myself in different ways. But it was mostly through my body. It was mostly through finding my own way of doing the kata or fighting that just felt like a very me way of doing things. And then obviously connecting with the people in the space I was doing it. Like, that was an amazing strategy. Has nothing to do with karate. So like I said, your strategy will be different for you, but it will be the same across the board. So you're probably wondering, how do I design my own strategy? So let's get into that. How are you going to do this? I'm going to show you how to do it for yourself now. First of all, you don't design it. You're not making it up. You're not figuring it out. You're clarifying it. It's already there. So really, all you have to do is very simple, is go back to a time when you did something and it worked really well, or it felt really easy, or it felt really good. It doesn't have to be related to what you're doing now. It can be, you went on this adventure and it really worked out. Or it can be you had to move house and find a new rental, and you found it really easily. It just kind of superseded logic, how you found it and how it worked. Perhaps you've done something, like achieved something absolutely incredible, mind-blowing, that people think is really inspiring. Perhaps it's that you learnt something and you found it really easy to learn and apply and take action on. It's something that just was in flow and worked really well. Think about as many of these times as possible, and they don't have to be related, and they don't have to be within the same kind of category or genre of life. They can be completely disparate, but think of as many as possible. It doesn't matter if you've only got one as well. Then, while you're thinking about each of these moments, run through exactly what you did to make it work. So you can I find it really helpful to speak it out loud to a friend or a mentor or a colleague. Speak it out loud, and perhaps if they can, have them reflect back to you what the steps are that they kind of see. But sometimes when you're speaking out loud to someone, it can just make it easier to hear it within yourself. And I think that's really valuable. So you can speak it out loud to a friend or even to yourself, or write it down, how it all played out. And then look for the similar patterns for how it all panned out for you. Look for the things that were really similar, the massive chunks. For example, I went on adventures and I did what felt fun. Like, that has nothing to do with business, with karate. It doesn't have anything to do with anything. But it's something that is the common kind of theme between each of these experiences. And the more experiences you have, the more evidence that you have that this is a step, right? And then all you do is you work out what the chunks are. Like, you work out, well, that all of that is an example of going on an adventure. All of that is an example of connecting with people around me. All of that is an example of, well, I just let go of the timeline. All of that is an example of, I found the building first. It doesn't matter what it is. And by the way, no one ever has to know this. You never have to say to someone in a work or job interview, well, my strategy is, first, I just follow what feels like is totally in flow. People are going to think you're nuts if you say that out loud to them. This is something that is personal and private for you. And it's something that's so meta that a lot of others, I think, unless they understand this concept of having your own unique strategy, but a lot of people will think it is overly simplified, and that's okay. But it is just unique to you. You never have to kind of tell anybody what it is, but it's just going to help you. So speak out loud the steps for everything that you've created before, and then find the similarities or the chunks, and then write them down. You can change it and refine it as you go. It's not set in stone. But that's it. That's how you design and find your own unique strategy for doing everything in the future, is look back at the past. Now, there is no such thing as a strategy that is too simple. I have heard 1 word or 3-word sentences that are an entire strategy for a multi-million-dollar business. There is no such thing as it being not formal enough. There's no such thing. It's yours. You already have evidence that it works because you've just gone and extracted that strategy from everything that you've done before. The hardest part, in my opinion, is not extracting the strategy. It's actually trusting it. It's trusting in that strategy enough to let it lead you through your next goal. Our mind really plays tricks on us. It tells us, I can't really rely on this right now. Like, I don't have time to find flow. I have cash flow issues, or I have a lot of pressure to make money, or I don't have time to go and make new friends. I've got to focus because maybe the way that you've done things before has not had anything to do with this strategy, and it's felt hard. It's felt like you're pushing a boulder up a hill. It's really felt like you've struggled through and it's not worked. So the hardest part, in my opinion, is actually testing it out and trusting in it enough when it feels like the stakes are high to let it lead you through your next goal. So that's it. That's how you design your own strategy. It's actually extracting and clarifying it from the past and not necessarily trying to make it up. It's not looking around at someone else and seeing what they do at the very end of their strategy, the visible bit that you see, like the moving legs or the thing on someone's reel or whatever. It's actually looking at, what works for you and then finding your own way to express that in the unique area of life that you're doing it with. So I really hope that this helps you. It gives you some food for thought. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. And I really hope that you will give this a go, because this was life-changing for me, and it is life-changing for my clients when they apply it. But I really do acknowledge that it is such a weird and different and unique way of thinking about things that it can feel a little bit intimidating. But if you like this idea and you'd love some support with it, I'd love to help you. And I think you'd love the Fierce Salon or the Bloom Business Incubator, which are 2 programs that I have coming up. This is a massive focus of these 2 masterminds, is helping you clarify and extract your own unique strategy for application in doing what you want. Now, the difference between the 2 programs is that the Bloom Business Incubator is when you're not making consistent income in your business and it's business focused, it will teach you and educate you about all those elements of business and the timeless wisdom, I suppose. Then you can apply your strategy to that to work out what to do first and how it works out. The Fierce Salon is for folks who are already, things are good and you want to go to great and there's a whole lot of unknown. We apply that strategy to that unknown piece. So if you like this idea, I would love to help you with it. Please go ahead and sign up to the waitlist. I'll pop the links to the waitlist underneath the episode. And I'd love to hear from you. What's your strategy? Let me know. Reach out Wherever you can comment or reach out to me, please do let me know. I would love to hear your strategy. I just adore hearing people's genius come out. So once again, thanks for listening, and go ahead and sign up for the wait list. We're going to be kicking off in a couple of months, these 2 masterminds. They're awesome. And remember, everything you want is so much closer than you think. So stay curious, stay open, and extract that strategy from the past so you know what to do in the future. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.